Hi, welcome back everyone. Welcome to this journey of Python programming. We have already completed a lot of topics already in Python, so a very big round of applause for you guys. You did a lot of great hard work to complete all of these video. So you have already reached to a level where you can understand a Python code. Now we are going to go at much deeper and deeper, which with much more advanced concept. So functions is again one of them. But before going to functions, let's have a quick recap on all the things that we did. We learn about Python. We learn about merits, demerits, career fields, application of Python in our first section, that was introduction. Then in the second section, we looked into all the data types that Python is having. We solved a lot of interesting problems all together, all from the scratch. Then we jumped into the statement, that is the Python statements we are having. We looked into if, el, else, else if, nested if. All of these were well versed and gone through. We completed the conditional statement, and then we jumped into loops. We learned about what are iterators, what is for loop, while loop, and one of the most important thing, that is your loop control statement. And after we completed all of these, we looked into some of the useful operators. These useful operators are very much useful. Again, from the name itself, you are going to use a lot of them once you start with actual live coding. Or let's say you want to be a software developer, you want to be a Python developer, a data scientist, data analyst, analytics, anything, wherever you want to go, this will be something you should be doing. And you should be using a lot of the special operators. We looked into list comprehensions, then we had enumerate, zip. Now we have completed all of these topic along with file handling. We looked through how to handle files. Now we are going to jump into functions. Functions are again a very vast topic that you are going to use in your day-to-day life. As a data scientist myself, I will always tell you that functions is something that I use in my day-to-day life. Just as yesterday I was writing out a code in Python where I had to create out a function for doing a particular repetitive task and applied it back to a for loop which it was calling out. So these were something which you are going to play out a lot with. Now, without a further ado, we did talk about a lot of new things and a lot of old stuff that we covered up. So let's jump into functions and look into what is function and how can you master the topic functions. So functions. So let's select out the marker. Oops, not this one, the thin one. Yes. So function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. Now, two, three keywords that you have to see, that it is a block of code which runs only when it is called. So what I mean by this is, let's say, let's take a very quick example of this. So let's say you have a task of taking two numbers from the user for each and every user. Let's say we have 1,000 users, and for each and every user you have to take two numbers. Okay, you have to take two numbers and add them up and show them up to them. Okay, so or else let's take the example of ATM. For each and every user, and user will go to the ATM, he will be just going, giving it a card, putting out its pin, and then he will be taking the transaction out. Now at the back end there must be some sort of code, right? Some sort of code will be there which will be taking the pin from the user, verifying it if this pin is correct or not, and then it will just give you back the money, whatever amount it has given up from its bank account, and also it will update out the bank. Now, do you think for each and every user that code should be written every time? Like, what I mean is, for let's say you have gone to the ATM machine, do you think for you that particular code should be written again, or it should be a predefined code for each and every user, and whenever a user comes into play, just that block of code will be called out? That block of code will be having some input function from the user, that is pin and amount, and then a display function, that transaction complete and all of these. So what do you think? What should we be having? Should we write the code particularly for each and every individual? No, right? That will be very tedious, and I don't think that you should be doing that. So let's look into how these things are done. So we have the concept of function. We create a block. Okay. That block of code is always reserved, and whenever a new user comes into play, that block of code will be called out. Let's say in that block of code, input function is there where you have to give pin and you have to give your amount, and at the end it will just display out transaction complete. Okay. So that block of code will be called each and every time for each individual users. So rather than writing the code again and again, you can just create a block of code and you can run it for or call it out hundreds of times whenever you need it. That was a quick introduction on function. Now, one more thing that function helps out a lot is function helps to break our program in smaller chunks. Okay. So what I mean is, if you have, let's say this is the length of your code, what you can do is you can take one particular task. Okay, let's say this task. Okay, this is one task, and this is your complete code. So this task may be addition. Okay. And what you can do is you can take this code, this complete block, put it in some other cell or some other place, okay, and make sure that you name it as add. Okay. And whenever you need this add in this block, complete block, this complete length, then what you want to do is you can just call out the name of it. So if you call out add over here, okay, and then you can just get out whatever code is there in this block of code. Similarly, if you want add again, so rather than writing all of these code that we are having over here, we are just going to write and call the function name add. So it's going to print do the same thing. Okay. So as our program goes larger and larger, functions make it more organized and manageable. Okay. Now let's move into the next slide. That is, functions are both user defined and built-in. Okay. We have already seen into a lot of built-in data types, built-in functions. Okay. We have already used a lot of methods, list methods, if you could recall. If we are passing the len keyword, okay, len, and then inside of it you are passing any list. Okay. Let's take this. We are writing len, and inside of it I have a list. I have some list with some values into it. So this is again a function or a method. So it is getting out the value of whatever the count or the length of this list might be. Okay, so these were some built-in functions. Now we are going to look into user-defined function. Okay. Built-in functions are again those functions that are already available in Python. Okay. We are going to look through user-defined function. These are the functions which we are going to play around with. We are going to build out our own functions. Okay. The way len is constructed, the way upper has been constructed, if you could recall string dot upper, it will convert everything to upper scale, right? Upper. So we are going to do something quite similar. We are going to create our own function, that is user defined function. Now what is the syntax of functions? So this is how the syntax of functions looks like. So you have to use the def keyword, that is def. Make sure D is small letter. So this is again a typo over here. It will be small d. Okay, def, and then the function name. Let's say I am doing add. Oops, sorry, my writing is quite bad. And that's it. Here you can write out arguments if you have any arguments. Okay, and then the expression. Whatever expression you are having, let's say adding two number, you might have arguments n1 n2, and over inside of this you might be having n1 plus n2. Okay, so this is a block of code, and whenever you need this block of code, you are just going to call out add. You're just going to call out add over here. Whenever you call out add, it will just do the same thing. Okay, whatever block you have written inside this block of code, whatever code is there, it will just call out that code. Let's look into a quick example of it. So we have def add again, and the print operator with f string. Okay, so as I've told you that I am personally a lover of f strings, so I use a lot of f strings in our day-to-day life. So I have sum of n1 and n2 equal to n1 plus n2. So whatever the values of n1 will be, let's say 4 and 5, the answer will be 9. So that it is the output of it. This is how you should be calling out a function. It can be this block of code. So def add, This block of code is completely different from or completely away from your main block of code. You can just create it somewhere else, and whenever you need it, you are just going to call it from this. Again, there's a typo here. It should be small a. Okay. ADD 54. What are 54? 54 are the arguments that we are passing. We are going to discuss about a lot of arguments parameter once we move into the Jupyter Notebook sessions. But this is all about functions. So this is the output sum of 5 and 4 equal to 9. Now, one more thing that you should be knowing, that using docstring. This is again very much optional. This is documenting your function, okay, or telling what your function does. It is just a small description of your function. So again, the same thing which we did in the last example, we have def function name parenthesis, and in triple quotes, you are writing docstring, and that is whatever the syntax might be. So over here, I can just write add two numbers. Okay, I can just write add two numbers, and just do the same transaction that we are doing over here from the expressions and the statement. Now you can get out and quick description about the function just by using this function, that is doc. If you just write doc, okay, if you write your function name, let's say add is our function name, add dot underscore underscore doc, you will just get out uh, the doc string available in this. We are going to go through this again once we jump into Jupyter Notebook. So that's it for this video. We are going to jump into Jupyter Notebook from our next video onwards, and we are going to go much and much deeper into functions. So kudos everybody, we have already completed out this video. Let's meet again in our next video.